Now, Far Cry 5 wasn't the best game of the year, but however, it did have outstanding performances and amazing story. But unfortunately, the gameplay suffered. The gameplay in guns were actually brutally atrocious. The guns had way too high recoil, silencers would barely even work, people would actually see you a mile away, so there's no need for stealth for that matter. You took out the hunting mechanic, the mechanic that made all the Far Cry fun. But despite that, I still didn't give up hope because I was curious what would happen at the end when you get to Joseph Seed. Now, Joseph Seed is one of my favorite villains in video games so far, right next to Voss, and I couldn't actually believe the outstanding performance that Greg Brick brought, an amazing performance as Joseph Seed. Now, I'm gonna go over details what I actually think the ending could properly mean. As everybody knows, whoever's seen the ending, if you haven't, go click off now, play the game, and come back. Now, people are actually confused about the ending. What could they actually mean and what happened during them? Well, in this video, I'll be going over what I think would happen if you play through the game properly and actually understand the storyline between both of the endings. If you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy, and peace out. Now, during this proper scene was one of the best games and scenes I haven't seen in years. It goes on how Joseph Seed is actually preaching to you what would actually happen next. Would you decide to actually fight him or go in peace and walk away? Now, as everybody knows, Joseph isn't really typically a violent person. Now, as everybody knows, it was mostly Joseph's siblings doing most of the violence to his fellow cult members. This is mostly because he had to make them desperate for them to join the cult and find the proper way to Ethan's Gate. This actually makes quite a amount of sense why Joseph actually had to follow these type of rules. Now, it would make sense he didn't actually agree with them. He actually was just doing what God bidding was actually trying to say. That actually was an outstanding performance, including an amazing plot due to the writers and the amazing performance of Craig Brick as the father. But despite all that, that doesn't necessarily mean that Joseph isn't very violent. As you can see right here, he managed to capture all your friends and companions by his own hands, torture them, and actually brainwash them to join the cult. This actually makes proper sense. Considering he's the cult leader, he must be able to defend himself at all times. I really like how he's actually pretty violent in his own way, how he isn't a force to be reckoned with. Even without using words, he actually is a crucial threat hand to hand. But when you actually start to think about the scene properly well, you start to wonder, how did Joseph get that type of training to capture your friends? Well, as anybody knows, one of his brothers, Jacob, was actually fighting in Afghanistan. Him having military training, he actually had high skills when it came to firearms, hand-to-hand combat, including stealth. Now, you probably start to wonder, is Jacob a genius when it comes to the human mind? Well, of course. Jacob was trained in the military, and he had a certain tactic how to truly train their soldiers without actually hurting them. This tactic being getting inside their proper head to see all their natural skills being shown right in front of them. This is what people sometimes called the Elder Realm. This realm being that all the people in front of you aren't necessarily real, proper of your imagination for you to do the proper training such as firearms, hand-to-hand combat, including stealth. Now, of course, is this tactic real? Well, I can't necessarily say yes because I'm not in the military, though it actually probably may be true. This actually makes quite a bit of sense. Why would he actually use a certain tactic? For the soldiers not to actually lose any proper strength for them getting actually hurt. Them getting hurt would actually mean them actually retiring, so they'll lose soldiers more often. So this actually might have been Jacob at one point. When he was actually proving his own strength in the military, him learning this certain tactic, he moved it on to his soldiers in Eden's Gate. And him doing it on you, he wanted to see how strong you were. But not only this, he already knew how strong you were, so why would Jacob need to get into your head to see your skills? He had already known your own skills, so why would you need to show it? Well, this wasn't necessarily a part to show your skill. This was mostly necessary to show if you knew something. This proper being that there's been counties of people joining up with as a group to bring down Joseph Seed. Now, of course, you have a leader, but you don't even know who he actually is and what he looks like. And of course, you're working for him. This actually quite makes sense because he actually gets into your proper mind for you to reveal himself to show you where he is. Now, of course, his army is way too strong. So Joseph had an idea. Why not just use the deputy to do most of the work, considering he had already the proper training, including skills to bring down an army? This actually makes quite a lot of sense, and I was very surprised by Ubisoft to write something so genius-like. Now, of course, do you actually get out of this type of world? And that answer is yes, but that's only if Jacob wants you to escape. Now, of course, during this scene when you're first time in here, you don't even know the cult leader, so what's actually happening? Well, of course, you're trying to actually get out of this proper world that you're trying to think you're killing Joseph, but in reality, you're killing your own friend. This actually makes quite sense, but how do you get here in the first place? Well, of course, Jacob takes out a music box and he starts to play a song.
We unique have their purpose. You'll understand that soon enough.
Now, the man who wrote this was Buck Graham, and he wrote this song in 1955. And at the time, it was actually a pretty hip song all the way to 2018. Now, Far Cry 5 put this as a story plot and what the song actually means, not only just putting you in the trance, but it means a certain phrase. The phrase being is only you could find your way. Find the way as in like you actually have to fight your own battles. This probably makes sense how you see right here, your main character is fighting his own battle with his own war. I probably like how it gives it a natural feel and emotion depth to it, how you start to question that the writers of this game didn't just say, oh, we just don't care, we'll just put a random song, but no, they put a main story to it in the main game. I probably like it how it actually was a genius move by Ubisoft, how it gives you a natural cool feel and actually makes it a pretty much good of a character development when it came to Jacob, and the fact that I would love to see this more in video games would be amazing. Now, me talking about this, what does this have to do with any of the main culprits in the story? Well, if you pick the ending where you decide to walk away with your friends, this is what actually happens.
What's wrong?
Now, of course, you're probably wondering, what happened in that certain scene? Well, there's no doubt about it that you went back into the trance, into the second realm, for you to actually have no control in killing your friends. This probably means, what did you do right after that? Well, you're more than likely, you actually went back to Joseph. Because like I said in the beginning, when you were during into a certain type of trance, there was only two people that actually give you the initial order to do what you wanted to. That was either Joseph or Jacob, and of course Jacob died, but however Joseph was still remaining, meaning that you actually went back to Eden's Gate only to actually join them and actually make the cult even bigger than it was before, only for Joseph to actually take over the world like he planned. This actually probably makes quite a amount of sense how it actually is one of my favorite endings in video games. Though it did piss off a lot of people across the world, I didn't find any hatred to it. If anything, I found true excitement. I probably like how they did it in such a sophisticated and actually a genius manner, how it actually probably makes sense in the true human mind, and the fact that this is one of my favorite endings in video game history. I can't believe Ubisoft did it in such a great manner. Now, of course, I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for you guys taking so long to the ending of the video. Thank you so much. I worked so hard for it. If you guys could kindly just hit that subscribe button, including leaving a like on the video. If you guys would please leave in the comments what you actually thought about it in my narration, that would actually help me out a lot. If it even has to be a hate comment, I don't actually necessarily mind, as long as you can actually be very honest. It can actually make me into a better YouTuber and me bringing great content for you guys. So all you have to do is hit that subscribe button, leave down in the comments, leave a dislike or just like, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.